All right, Helene, looks like we got the room opened up here today on this great Thursday morning for today's edition of Trade of the Day Live. Helene, interesting action in the markets the past couple days. There's been certainly some noisy headlines that had stocks moving yesterday, but
hmm
then some additional headlines came out and they recovered and had some great trading through the end of the day. So definitely some interesting things to talk about here today. So welcome in. Glad to have you for today's call.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Definitely interesting movement, that's for sure. It's been hard to get your footing at times with all the headlines.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right here, smack dab in the middle of earnings season, have company results feels like just coming out at just, this fire hose pace right now, and
Exactly.
then, we're smack dab right in the middle of it. Oh my gosh, is the Fed chair going to be fired? What is going on? So the markets, they were a little, caught on their heels yesterday, but it seems like they're a little more comfortable now. And I think that's probably a good place for us to go ahead and start and just start looking at just where the markets are right now, and just go ahead and dive into the charts and see what they're telling us.
Mm.
Of course, you can see today, folks, we're up just about 0.4%, exactly 0.4%. So four tenths of a percent there, up on the S&P. So that's always great to see. Another nice positive day. And I actually sent this out last night via our Telegram channel. I'm not sure if anybody watching here happened to catch this message, but I signaled that yesterday at the close, we got a very decisive reversal candle, and it's this one right here. Helene, you and I, this is one that you and I are always keeping our eyes peeled, looking at
Oh yeah.
charts for. We were anticipating that we were going to have a pullback. We had been trading above the upper Keltner channel, pretty significantly overbought in the short term, and we were
hmm
definitely due for a bit of cooling momentum and a light retracement because of that. And that's exactly what we got. We can see where momentum kind of stalled out for about a week and a half. And then in this week's trading, of course, we had here was Monday's candle. This was Tuesday. So we opened at a new all-time intraday high on Tuesday, but closed at the lows of the day. And so we started the pullback come Tuesday. And then, of course, this was yesterday's trading bar right here. You can see we finally got that pullback intraday. We traded roughly down to the same level, Helene, that you and I have been kind of talking about for a
hmm
few weeks now. We're anticipating, where that level of support was likely going to come in for the markets. It was probably going to be somewhere, right around the middle Keltner channel. And you can see it didn't quite get there intraday, but it was only a few S&P points away, at the very tail bottom end of this wick right here on that open high low close bar. So you can see we got that pullback, but by the end of the day, as I mentioned, stocks they recovered quite strongly and had a nice positive rally through the end of the day, which formed this candle right here. And this is the signal I put in the Telegram last night. We got this very impressive bullish hammer pattern. And Helene, you and I know that looking at a chart, when we see that, set up specifically this style candle right here, this bullish hammer pattern, that's a very reliable, bar to see pop up on a chart. Seeing that
Yes.
candle is signaling a
Extremely
potential
bullish.
reversal to come. What's that?
Exactly. Exactly. It's extremely bullish. And I mean, it's funny because we were on here on Tuesday and we're like, okay, we're due for a pullback. It's going to happen. We think it's going to happen in the short term. We don't expect it to be a bottoming out correction. We just need a healthy pullback. That's part of any good bull trend. And that's exactly what we saw. And as you said, we know that hammer. It's a very, very bullish sign when you see that hammer. You're like, okay, we're good to go. It looks like we're going to restart. It's very reliable.
Exactly right. And it's not magic, it's not fairy dust. There's a reason why that candle will show up on a chart. It's because, stocks started off opened kind of near the high of the day. Something caused them to rally straight down, but then a lot of buyers came flying back into the markets,
Mhm.
providing a lot of support for stocks, driving that price back up to near the highs of the day. And that's ultimately where they closed was, closing up on the day, closing near the highs of the day. So that's what causes that candle to happen. So again, this is not just, casting spells on the chart and making some magic happen. There's a reason why that happens. So we spotted that yesterday. I put that out late last night saying, hey, we got this signal at the close. This could be the sign of a potential reversal of this, small pullback that we, had been forecasting, we're expecting, and finally got over the last couple of days. And you can see that's exactly what happened today. We have another day. We're up again. As I said, we're up about 0.4%. And actually, if the current levels hold, we haven't set a new intraday high yet, Helene, but if the current levels hold or we close higher than here today, this is actually going to be a new all-time closing high on the S&P 500. So this is signaling
Okay.
that reversal, has happened. We're starting to regain some bullish momentum again. You're starting to see the leading sectors. I mean, if you look at tech, you look at financials, you look at industrials, some of the really red hot industries like nuclear, a lot of these stocks are really starting to pick up momentum towards
Mhm.
the end of yesterday, back in today's trading. And again, you can see that relative strength for the S&P showing down here in the RSI with the line starting to very sharply slope back up, but not, it's not signaling that it's overbought, nor is the upper chart with the daily price. It's not trading above the upper Keltner channel significantly. So, this is starting to signal that that reversal is happening. So we'll get confirmation of that, everyone, if we get a close today that's, we get a higher close today than yesterday's.
Yep.
So that will confirm that reversal. So that's one thing we're watching for. Helene, anything else you want to point out on this chart before we go ahead and hop into our trades for today?
No, let's go ahead and hop into the trades.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So, as I said, folks, we're starting to see some of these market leaders we've been watching closely. They pulled back. Talking about some of the sector level leaders. Not just the individual stocks, but one of them, of course, is technology. We've we've really hammered on that lately. Tech stocks are clearly one of the key market leaders right now. Have been showing just very impressive relative strength in many pockets of technology. And that's why I've honed in on this trade right here. This is LRCX. They're under the technology umbrella in the semiconductor field, but they're specifically one of the semiconductor cap equipment companies. So they make some of the components that go into actually creating, the silicon chips. So they're into that business. They're not designing them. They're actually just making some of the components that go into it. But as you can see, this stock has just been on a rip roaring rally higher
Oh
over the
yeah,
past couple months, coming out of those April lows. I mean, that anybody would love to see that trend in their portfolio, right? I mean, that's just a one
absolutely.
heck of a bullish move to the upside. And so you can see, of course, we have a nice technical buy signal going on here. Our red line, so our 21-day EMA is trading above our green line right here, which is our slightly longer term 63-day EMA. Of course, that buy signal occurred right back here when this bullish convergence happened in mid-May. Ever since then, the distance has been widening out between those two EMAs right there. And currently LRCX is trading above both of them. So we have several technical buy signals just following the trend here for LRCX. So love to see that right there. And also too, we can see down here, this is actually a ratio chart looking at between LRCX divided by the price of the S&P 500. So what this is looking at is to see whether LRCX is either outperforming, is in line with performance, or is underperforming the S&P 500. And how you read this chart, you can ignore all the numbers over here. They're not really relevant. What you just want to see in order to determine whether LRCX, in this case, is outperforming the S&P is just seeing this line slope up. And that's exactly what we're seeing right here. Of course, the S&P has been on a great trend coming out of those April lows, but LRCX has been even that much better. That's the only way that this line would be sloping up right here. And we're seeing that continuing to happen right now. So a very strong relative strength trend there for LRCX. And the final thing that made me really like this trade setup was the fact that one, we saw a nice rally. It dipped yesterday, traded down to the middle Keltner channel. It's no longer overbought, rallied to the highs of the day at the close. And then now we're up today, but we haven't quite gotten back into that overbought territory yet. We're still trading just a touch above $100 per share. That's still below that upper Keltner channel. So that is telling me this is a really attractive entry point for this stock that's on a just incredible bullish trend higher. So I went ahead and pulled up my options chain. I only went a couple weeks out for this one right here. And I landed Helene on this 92 strike call right here. So this
Okay.
92, it looks like it's 973
All right.
per contract. So it's just about exactly where I saw earlier, just a couple cent difference. But then I went ahead, of course, plugged it into our call option purchase calculator. And you can see this has some really nice potential upside. And it's got some good leverage provided by this call option. Of course, it looks like LRCX, the stock, is in a great uptrend. But if that were to continue, if you were to play it with this call option right here, which would be, a pretty attractive method of playing the trend for me, at least that's my personal opinion. you can see you would have some really attractive upside here. You can see if the stock were to gain 5% from here, you'd be, this call option at expiration be set up to produce a 40.5% return. You can take a look at a couple of the bigger potential moves here as well. You can see 7.5% move in the stock at expiration. Of course, about a little over 66% return. And then in the 10% category here, see if LRCX were to move up by 10%, that'd be a pretty substantial move. But should it happen, this call option will be setting on a 92% return at these current prices. So
Nice.
really, really like that trade setup right there. That's been a big winner. I talked about that one a couple weeks ago, I believe, in a call maybe I did with John on one of our eye opener sessions.
Okay.
But looks like another good setup right here.
It
Another good entry
definitely
point.
does. That's a great pick, Blaine. I love it. Let me go ahead and jump into mine now.
Yeah,
Uh,
please go. Please. I love your picks too. You've been bringing some absolute just on fire picks lately. So I'm excited to see what you have for us today too.
so my pick today is for Wells Fargo, the banking company, of course. And looking at the chart, we can see this just looking at the recent price movement. They had that sell off with earnings, but they clearly bottomed out and are starting to trade higher from here. Now, looking at the longer term trends, they are on a confirmed bull trend and buy signal. This is because they're trading above the 200-day moving average as well as the 35-day EMA. You can actually see on that pullback day where they tested that 35-day EMA and then bounced off of there. Stocks in very bullish trends tend to trade above the 35-day EMA. So when you see a stock bouncing off of that 35-day EMA, it's a very bullish sign. Um, and then also RSI wise, we're looking at the RSI here. We can see there's that overbought period and then that decline. And right now, RSI is increasing. And so that also confirms the reversal and the continuation of that previous bull trend. So the recent movement, as well as those moving averages and the longer term EMAs, all confirm that this is at a good place to enter. Additionally, looking at the Keltner channels, it's below that upper channel, meaning it's in the buy zone. So with that pullback and that clear reversal in the trend and push higher, it appears to be ready to break higher from here and continue trading higher. So I'm looking at the August 15th, the 75 strike call. It's currently trading at 573. So, this is moving live as we see it. So it only has to move less than 1% by option expiration in order for your option to break even and start profiting. So this gives you additional leverage when compared to buying the stock, but it also provides you some downside protection as well, since it is an in the money call option. You have some wiggle room here. So with that the 75 strike call for August 15th is my trade of the day.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome, Helene. And it's nice, low cost call option right there. Very, very approachable for a lot of folks. Looking at the chart for Wells Fargo, as you said, they reported earnings. They were one of the first, major companies to report earlier this week. I think they were one of the ones to actually report in the pre-market on Tuesday. But yeah, it certainly looks like, the big sell-off they had post earnings was probably a little overdone.
Mhm.
It didn't seem that their results were maybe quite as bad. I mean, I know there was some questions about their net interest margins and their forecast on that, but looks like maybe, Wall Street punished the stock a little bit too much because it's clearly starting to bounce, looking to try and resume that bullish uptrend along with a lot of the financials. We're seeing that kind of across the board right now, but yeah, Helene, that was a great looking trade. So way to go. Another really, really strong looking one you brought here today. So thanks for that.
Anytime. Yeah, I loved your trade too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, both obviously very different trades and very different industries, but two that are certainly have been outperforming the market of late, over the past couple months, and both look like they're starting to see a little bit of a reacceleration and reignition in those really powerful trends we've seen lately. So, was glad to be able to spot those here live with you all this morning. Definitely some great looking trades, but everyone, I did want to mention that if you enjoyed seeing Helene and I break down these trades, seeing our trade analysis, how we spot these trades, I actually have a newsletter. It's posted weekly. It's a video newsletter It's generally about, 8 or so minutes long. But what I do is I sit down, I do some research over the weekend. I seek out my top trade opportunity that I can spot across the markets, whether, whatever sector it is. It doesn't matter which stock, could be an ETF, whatever. I'm going to go out and seek out that opportunity. And I put together a newsletter video for you, breaking down that trade, all the technicals, what I see in it, why I think that is going to continue moving on its current trend, and an attractive trade opportunity for it. I get a little more in depth than what we do in these calls right here. We
Yeah.
kind of are just scratching the surface right here. I provide a lot more information, like key levels to watch for, profit targets, stop losses, specifically for the options trade. Show you how exactly one would go about setting these things up. And so if you want to check that out, actually, I'm getting ready to post a link in the chat right now. It's to my weekly profit opportunity newsletter. Again, this is available. It comes out on the weekends. I post it on Sunday evenings just before the close, or just before the opening, rather, on the following Monday. So, that's teed up, sitting in your inbox. You have the full breakdown right there, ready to go before the opening bell coming on Monday. And actually, right now, I'm offering, you can get started for just your first month if you haven't checked it out yet. You can get started for just $1. And I would like to add that several of my recent picks on there have actually been over 100% winners in just a matter of a couple weeks. So,
I was gonna say, Blade, your picks have been fire recently. You're
well, thank you. You're too kind. I not to be my own hype man here and talk my own book, but like to see the success, and enjoy the success and those big green up moves when they're happening. So,
yeah, who doesn't? And
definitely
you do
been.
a great job, pointing them out in your WPO newsletter. So definitely something that people should go ahead and check out and take advantage. It's only $1 for the free trial for the first month. It's absolutely, get your money's worth with that
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. So I mean, for your first, if you get that dollar, you'll have the newsletter for 4 weeks. You'll have it for a month. Just could be your first week. I mean, it's been on a great run lately. I think the last 5 or 7 weeks, I can't remember. I have to look at the spreadsheet that tracks them, but I think roughly like the last 6 weeks, every trade in a row has given the members the opportunity to profit had they taken it.
That's awesome.
And if you had just taken just one of those trades, would have easily covered that $1 cost to check it out. So would love to see everybody check that out if you have not yet. Again, I just posted a link in the chat. You can go ahead and click there if you want to go ahead and take me up on that offer. I would love to see you over there, and I would love for you to start getting some of my trade analysis and research over the weekend. So,
Well, with that, Blaine, I think we're all done for today. But I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us for this Trade of the Day live. We love having these events. We love getting to share our trades with you guys. So thank you so much again, and make sure to join next Tuesday when we're back here live.
yep, exactly. We'll see you back here next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, and have a fantastic weekend. It's a summer. It's nice. Get outside, get some fresh air, enjoy, and we'll see you back here next week.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.